The other day we were navigating the World Wide Web when Felipe stumbled across some devastating bad news. The Batman had fallen short of box office expectations by $250 million to be precise. Do you understand the problem? If the Batman was out of the billion-dollar club, we could be in the midst of another JBAS, Jeff Bezos acquisition syndrome. We must keep Amazon's claws out of Detective Comics. The only way out is to make films cheap again. So today, we're gonna recreate the most iconic scenes in the Batman under $300 and save the franchise.
Buckle up, it's gonna get interesting.
Why are we holding these in our hands?
Because we're gonna do a scene breakdown to define what actors, locations, props, costume design, special effects, whatever it's needed to achieve the scene.
And the scene we chose to recreate is the Riddler's coffee scene.
Oh, that's amazing.
Iconic. It's a turning point in the movie.
Yes, it's the first time that the Batman and the Riddler see eye to eye.
It looks simple, but it's not.
Exactly.
Alright, so let's break it down.
The segment we're about to recreate opens with a low-key dolly-in close-up of the Batman looking constipated, and then we cut to a similar shot of the Riddler whose face has more contouring than a Kardashian. If you wanna sound fancy, you can call this type of lighting chiaroscuro.
Which one's you? You tell me. Let's go, pencil neck.
Then, an in-camera transition reveals the MVP of all Batman shots. An ambitious and perfectly lit 4-axis camera movement that somehow manages to cast no shadows. Chef's kiss.
How are we going to tackle the foam?
You're concerned about the foam?
Yes.
Didn't you see the camera movement? That's like 3 different devices choreographed to create that dolly in. Camera goes up and then it tilts down.
This is complex. You cannot do this with only one gadget.
Unless you're Marquez Brownlee and you have a robot at home, which no one does.
Unfortunately, we were about to realize that our lack of robots was going to become the least of our concerns. Custom department, is it for immigration purposes?
Everything we do in this house is custom made for us. Everything is unique. Did you understand the pun now? You will only find Middle-earth customs here, woman.
90s, David Hasselhoff.
Exactly.
Okay, one thing about the Batman costume, Felipe, is that it was very DIY on purpose.
However, every single Batman costume we could find online right now costs up to $3,000. Way out of our budget. So we agreed to find each costume piece separately, starting with this super cheap and almost too good to be true cowl. But I guess you know how the saying goes.
We're stuck in development hell, the cowl. It's lost somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea.
Oh, man.
It's not the Mediterranean Sea, right? You gave me the wrong information. Okay, it's the Pacific Ocean. It's not coming from Spain, it's coming from China. I got scammed twice. It was supposed to arrive 3 weeks ago. Didn't arrive, then they told me it's gonna arrive for sure yesterday. And yesterday, they changed the message, and now the package has been lost.
So that means that we have to make it by hand.
Yeah, except that by we, Felipe meant me, Michelle.
Listen, if you put me in charge of the entire custom of this project, it's gonna end up looking like Leoxomo. Are you sure you wanna put the custom in my hands?
Yes, please.
And so, let the most questionable cosplay in history begin. For the armor, I found this biker contraption thing which looked kinda promising, but according to Felipe, it didn't allow him to display any of his totally legit MMA moves. And since he was getting more picky than a Karen in Say Yes to the Dress, I knew I had to use my non-existent sales skills in order to convince him. So Jeff, I hope you enjoyed the first exchange.
What is that?
This is an actual thing that they sell on Amazon. I was interested in this one specifically because of this piece right here. It's giving Met Gala.
Unfortunately, my subpar Shark Tank pitch wasn't capable of holding Felipe's attention for more than 3 seconds.
It looks like my Japanese armor.
But maybe that wasn't such a bad thing after all.
Oh yeah, look, you're right.
So I played along and he took the bait.
I want to wear it now.
Put it on.
Yes.
Put it on. Put it on. We need to see.
Thank you. I love it. This is badass.
However, while he certainly said yes to these shoulder things, I still needed to figure out a way to construct the cowl, cape, and the rest of the armor. And its instructions were just one Etsy click away. So we headed to Hobby Lobby to get the supplies. But once we hit the fabrics aisle, Felipe's pickiness peaked again.
It has to be leather, most expensive cashmere leather. What if you do velvet Batman?
So after pitching me enough fabrics to dress the entire Met Gala, he finally agreed to pay a visit to the cheaper leather aisle, where it was love at first sight.
I am vengeance.
But just when I thought that a decision had been made, I had to witness another case of the distracted boyfriend meme in real life.
I actually think this is more Batman. This is more badass. Let's take this one.
And chaos was about to ensue. Thank you.
Welcome. You guys have a good evening.
You too. Remember what I told you about the distracted boyfriend meme?
I am vengeance.
What will you say is the moral of the story there? That the grass is always greener on the other side? Well, in this case, let's just say it was grayer.
Oh, we didn't notice. Oh my god, the inside is gray.
So we had to go back to the cheap leather aisle. And after a gentle touch, Felipe asked his first love to take him back. But the problem was that according to Hobby Lobby's law, he was already a committed man.
No, the customer is always right.
And instead of asking for forgiveness, he was simply planning to abandon ship.
Let's go.
No, Felipe, no, don't do that. I feel terrible.
Why?
Because she cut it for us. Batman wouldn't do that. What will Batman do?
Batman will have to come at night, steal the piece, and
He wouldn't
leave.
steal it, she's a good lady.
Batman will leave some money on her car. You have to tell them, hey, we only need one of them.
So after convincing me to take the bullet for him, we got the rest of the supplies and headed home for the construction to begin.
Like a good Batman, I decided not to scan them. I think we did the right thing. How did you manage to do this? I cannot believe it.
And I also couldn't believe what was about to happen.
Oh, somebody's here. Amazon.
Could you imagine if that's gonna be the mask? If the mask arrives right now, I'm gonna quit everything. I'm gonna lose my shit. Please go downstairs and check.
It better not be.
Well, it turns out I didn't take it as badly. The new, shinier, and slightly bigger cowl was finally delivered, so we agreed to finish the paint job and test both cowls on camera to let the lighting decide. But where the hell were we gonna find a soundstage under this budget? Now what's the problem, Felipe?
That there is light coming everywhere from our home. Even though we cover this, light is stronger than darkness.
And since the entire scene takes place at nighttime, we relied on the most prized possession that every film school that's not Full Sail has.
Black garbage bags. We're gonna seal the entire set so no light leaks into the set. Now, your neighbors might think you are either a film student or a serial killer. Both are good because that will keep people and nosy neighbors
away
from your property.
Don't bother me.
It needs to be quiet on set.
And now that we had a Karen-proof set, we could start building the Gotham City diner, starting with the closest element placed right in the foreground of the first shot, the glass window.
Now, as you can see, the shot is very anamorphic. How are we going to achieve this? We're going to crop it in post-production. Right, woman?
I mean, kind of. In reality, the anamorphic look isn't just about achieving a wider aspect ratio. It's about the unique cinematography that this type of lenses can create, which make them increasingly more expensive to own or rent. And to make matters even worse, Matt Reeves used a set of anamorphic vintage lenses that were literally broken.
They were so wrong. The edges of the frame were completely distorted. Sometimes the focus was in the weirdest part of the frame. You'd be like, what is going on?
And since we had no funds left to rent an anamorphic lens, much less rent one and break it, we had no other option but to double down on the cheaper technique of dirtying up the frame. But how exactly were we gonna match those oddly shaped water droplets?
Spray bottle. That's the best way to do it. I've seen how they do it in commercials and in Hollywood. They grab a spray bottle and they do like this.
Like stupid people.
Look how it works.
Look at that bullshit. It couldn't be worse.
My technique might have sucked, but the idea was legit. I actually saw the Batman crew use more spray bottles than assistants in the behind the scenes. But as with everything, these newly found meteorologists disagree.
Trust me, even if it takes a century, the correct way is real rain.
Except that we're located near D4 levels of exceptional drought, so he came up with yet another brilliant plan.
If I step in the center of our backyard, I will have 6 to 10 seconds of perfect organic symmetry like rain. You better run.
I knew this was probably the most stupid idea I have heard about in my entire film career, but the possibility of our neighbors thinking that Felipe is some kind of rain-obsessed shaman entertained me, so I let that shit show unfold. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we were ready to start lighting the first shot, in which we speculated there were about 4 different light sources. A key light that's supposed to be coming from the inside of the diner, a fill light on the right side of his face, a motivated street light acting as a backlight, and a flashing police car lighting the other side of his face. And after placing our Dollar Tree lighting setup, we were ready for the first camera test.
Let's turn one by one, starting from the key light. Let the magic begin, hopefully. Boom.
But that's when our lack of budget in the lenses department really started to show.
It's not the same as Batman. Look at Batman's.
Yeah, because you need bigger rain. The shape is definitely the anamorphic lens.
Ironically, Felipe tried to fix this by making it rain like quote-unquote stupid people do. But of course, he ended up defying the laws of physics instead.
Oh shit, we were making it rain inside the diner. Felipe!
Okay, maybe that helps because we need big drops.
No, please don't. That's not accurate, Felipe.
But it's the only thing that's going to give us the anamorphic kind of look. Look at the big camera, please, Mama.
A little better, yes.
Can you step here?
And since our patience was getting more shallow than our depth of field, I decided to hang whatever I could find in the background, paint Felipe's eyelids with $1 eyeshadow, and we were finally ready to hit record.
And action. You nailed it.
Take that, Robertson Pattinson.
And now it was time for the Riddler shot, which had significantly more set design than the previous one, including this greenish table with some odd stains, so we had to get creative.
I think we're wasting our time here. This is not a place where filmmakers go.
It is.
You have to go to a place where they sell tables.
We're gonna fake the table, Felipe. It's called the art of faking it. It's used in many different categories of life.
What are you trying to say?
Who is the art director of this project? I am.
So this is going to be a disaster.
You need to trust me. I present to you the Riddler coffee table.
This might actually work.
Might actually work was an understatement. It even had the little stains.
If there is something I hate, is admit that you were right, woman. That one is perfect.
So we took as many as our shrinking budget could afford, and we headed home to start bidding on this eBay vintage coffee mug. And since we only had about $40 left, we borrowed this raincoat from our friendly neighborhood grandpa, and a pair of blue light blocking glasses from Uncle Jeff. But the cherry on top in this Riddler costume was actually an unexpected confidence boost, courtesy of the hair and makeup department.
Oh, what? What did you get?
It's identical. Everything you have ever wanted. You look so different.
I have hair. I can believe it. Do I look like Brad Pitt?
Yeah, it's looking like Brad Pitt, definitely.
And so Brad decided to take over the set design department. And after setting up the table, building a fake napkin holder, and photoshopping a copycat menu, it was time to decipher our second lighting setup, which ironically felt like solving a riddle. But we suspected that it consisted of an overhead key light placed right above the Riddler to create that chiaroscuro effect, a tiny fill light acting mostly as an accent on the coffee mug, and a subtle backlight that should also reflect on the table.
We are finishing the final touches.
It's been 5 hours and we cannot achieve this lighting situation. The problem is that we're not having a strong enough fall off. The latest theory is that this is bouncing the light of the entire room, so we need to put like a flag or something to try to reduce the reflection.
But since we didn't have any professional flags, we had no other option but to enlist a friend who told us he will always be there.
Don't hurt him. David Hasselhoff saves the day.
And just like that, Felipe got into character and we managed to film both Riddler shots back to back.
Action.
You telling me?
And after that Oscar-worthy performance, it was time to tackle the police shots, which required a special type of Photoshop skill.
I may or may not have done this before. I have never falsified driver's licenses in order to enter a nightclub under 21 years old. I have never done that before. So
okay.
I don't know how this will turn out because I've never done that, you know?
Okay, so if it ends up looking ugly and not working, we know that you're telling the truth. If it ends up perfect, what does it say?
It just says that I'm a very talented Photoshop artist, nothing more than that.
People try to say no, but everybody loves to be a villain. It's more fun, you know, because you don't have responsibilities to be a good person.
And so we entered our Saul Goodman era, taking 2 different pictures for the 2 fake identities. And while I've seen better graphic design in a middle schooler's Tumblr account, apparently that's a good thing, because in Hollywood, fake IDs are supposed to look exactly like that, to avoid getting into any legal trouble.
Now, I don't want any of you asking me to design fake IDs for you. Not because I wouldn't charge you, but because you're gonna get arrested.
However, it was certainly the time to arrest the Riddler. And while this shot looked fairly simple, when we slow down the footage we noticed some blue and orange bouquet in the background. But due to a lack of both light bulbs and extroversion, Felipe decided to sacrifice our guest's bathroom. And with the touch of a button, the blue and orange bouquet were born. So we covered this motorcycle jacket zippers with black tape and we were ready to roll. Or should I say ready to become a human sound effects generator?
What's the point of the foley? Mouth foley.
Which one's you?
No vocal sound effects, please. We can add that in post.
Which one's you?
And after 2 hours of vocal whoosh and swoosh and whatever that was, I had to put on my producer hat.
Okay, so it's almost 12. I think you need to let go, Felipe. You need to let go. You're gonna develop carpal tunnel.
Trying to match the exact angle, the exact focal length, the exact movement. Damn it. I think we should do commentary videos.
Oh boy, if only he realized that this entire time he's been playing FIFA and now we were headed towards the Champions League.
Okay, Gotham City, we are ready for the next shot. It is the police telling the Riddler. Let's go, pencil neck. This next setup is ready.
And since Officer Martinez had a slower fall-off, we decided to place an overhead key light with a diffuser, and Felipe built a fake neon sign with some LED strips for the background.
Let's go, pencil neck.
Oh my god.
What a nice confidence boost. It's exactly what we needed to confront our biggest fear, the 4-axis camera. I mean, the foam. The foam in the coffee shop. Absolutely terrifying.
First coffee cup, we learned a lot. Goodbye. We have to do better.
Turns out that Felipe had been right all along. Nailing this thing was harder than I thought, and even when we did, we only had a couple of seconds to shoot that thing before the question mark started expanding like a Mark Rober science experiment gone wrong. And since we still needed a couple of more days to practice, we started discussing the lighting setup, which had the same background lights than the wallet shot. And in terms of the key light illuminating our main character, we were debating whether the camera had a china ball attached to it or if there was a fixed spotlight placed right above the coffee cup. However, since we didn't own any of those two options, Felipe decided to 3D print a Franken spotlight instead.
Let's see if it works.
So we finished setting up the spotlight, the slider, and the dolly, and then we unboxed the prop gun for the police officer standing in the background. But right when we were about to start, we realized that this wasn't an introvert-proof shot, meaning that we needed at least 4 more actors.
So now I have to play 6 characters, and Felipe has to operate the camera, push the dolly, rack focus, and everything else. If this one doesn't work, I'm sorry, guys.
It's gonna be alright. How can you tell? Yeah, yeah. I feel it in my heart. Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be okay. Let it go, carry on. I'll let it go,
Action.
carry on.
We did our best. Hopefully, it's similar.
We'll try to fix it in post.
And without further ado, here are the final results.
Which one's you?
You tell me.
Let's go, pencil neck.
And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Good job.